What's up, fellas? Today we're working on the Comancheep again, doing some more problem solving. And what are we going to come across today? Well, who knows, because when you fix one issue, then that just makes another one arise. So let's get started. Okay, so what is my problem today, you may ask? Well, this is my problem. I need to fit this air filter in here somewhere. And that, to me, looked like it was gonna work. It looks pretty good right there. It's up high. But if you look, I have a shock right here to mount. So I need to make a shock hoop, and that would be easy enough. I could still fit a shock hoop and the shock in there. But then I also need to make a brace from this shock hoop over the engine to the other shock hoop. But in that case, that is not going to work. And the way that this filter is, there is not a lot of room for it. Now, I know some of you said put it in the cowl. That's not going to happen. Those filters that go inside there are tiny. The cowl is very small inside there. Also, the V8 just needs much more air. This is, I'm sure I could go a little bit smaller than this, but I'd be hesitant to go much smaller than this on the air filter. I don't want to put it in the cab either. That would be annoying as heck, but the good news is I've got enough elbows and fittings and pipes that I could put this thing on the moon if I wanted to. So here's my solution. I'm going to make the shock hoop and then design the air intake around that. Not much of a solution, but rather than designing the shock hoop around the air intake, that would be silly. So I'm going to do it vice versa. So that leads us to our next issue, which is I need to make a shock hoop, which is almost a 180-degree bend, but I only have a 90-degree die. So how am I going to manage that? Well, if you look at this, they call it a 90-degree die, but there's a little more than 90 degrees there, maybe 110 or something like that. So I'm going to bend as much as I can, and then my thought is I'll turn it around backwards and try to get a few more degrees out of it. So let's see how that works. Okay, now I'm going to put this thing in backwards and try and bend it a little more. Now, this is not the approved method since the bar is not straight back here. It's not really going to fit right in the other die. But if it works, right? All I need is for it to work one time, maybe two times. Okay, I can guarantee you this bender is not going to be happy about this because this is not the way it was intended to work, but let's see what we can do here. Okay, so pro editing tip, I already made the other one, so I know this is going to work, but I need to match them. So I need to make sure that I don't overbend it. And I got to keep in mind that when you release the tension off this, there's a degree of snapback. So depending on how much you're bending, it's usually between 3 and 5 degrees of snapback. That when it looks like this, it'll actually snap back 5 degrees. So I just need to overbend it a little bit. Okay, let's take the tension off and Oh man. This thing is gonna be so jammed up, it's not even funny. There's no way these pins are coming out because everything's jammed up because of the way I did that. But there is a trick. Take your air hammer and find the bottom of this pin. Let's hammer it out. Oh God. There we go. I fought with that for like 30 minutes last time before I finally figured out that trick. Ta-da! All right. Not a perfect bend, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, right? And it matches perfectly with the first one that I made. So now I just need to cut here and here, and then we'll notch it and see what it looks like. Oh man, I need more space in my shop, guys. What do you think? Should we build on? Every time somebody comes over to and sees the place, they say, man, I didn't realize how small it was in here from the videos. It looks a lot bigger. I just need more room. I need more tools, need more room. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen this thing before, it's a horizontal bandsaw, and it's a piece of junk. I got it from Harbor Freight, but it does save your ears from using the angle grinder all the time when you just need to make a simple straight cut. So the next thing we need to do is put that tube right up in here where it's gonna go, and then measure that angle with our angle finder. We'll do this side first. It's right about there. Lock it down. Next we'll slide that in there. We want to set the angle of our notcher. So put this up against something flat here, and then move that out until it lines up. Perfect. Now we need to tighten that down. Okay, so now we need to move this out. Like I said before, you wanted about 1/4 of an inch bite into that. Should be fine right there. Then we want to make sure that this tube is level with the ground for this one. Always wear your eye goggles. And here we go. Okay, for the other side, it's going to be a little bit different. So what we want to do is measure for our angle there. But if you'll notice, this bar comes along and then it curves out this way. So what that means is we want to mark a line here on this side, mark a line here on this side, parallel to this bar here, the way that it's aiming. And that will tell us kind of where to notch. Because if we notch parallel with this bar right here, then it's not going to line up correctly. So get your new angle set, but now when you put your tube in here, when you tighten it down, what we want to do is look at those lines that we just created, and we're going to angle the tube so that that line matches with this corner, and the same thing on the other side. And you'll know if you did it right because both lines on either side should match up with those corners there. All right, that's about it right there. Need to move it in so that it gets about 1/4 inch bite or so right there. And we're all set. And what do you know? I cut it the wrong dang direction. Everything was right except I should have turned the tube 180 in the jig there. Dang it, that sucks, but I'll show you how to fix this. It happens sometimes, but tubing is expensive, so we're gonna fix this without wasting any tubing. So I'm gonna cut this about 3 or 4 inches from the end here, doesn't really matter. Now I'm gonna drill 3 or 4 fairly large holes in it, about 1 inch from the end on both sides that we just cut. Okay, now it's pretty gnarly in there from drilling those holes, so you can take a file or you can take an 1.5 inch drill bit, and if you run it backwards it won't catch too hard and it works pretty good. As long as you can get it in there. This one says it's 1.5 inch, but it is definitely bigger. Oh, it's busted right there. No wonder it's not working in there. It's bigger than 1.5 inch basically. Let's try this one instead here, see if it'll work better. Much better. That's weird. Same hole saw, but this one fits in there and this one doesn't. Not enough room. Move over! Okay, now make sure to bevel each end of your tubes here. And what we're going to do is take a short piece of tubing. This is 1.5 inch outer diameter. This is 1.5 inch inner diameter. So what we're going to do is mark about halfway point. Put that in one of our tubes, slide it in the other tube, and we'll weld that together, and then we'll weld up the holes. Of course, you want to make sure that you get your angle right this time, but after that, then we'll weld it up. It'll be even stronger than it was before, because now you've got a double wall, thicker tube. All right, it's actually really easy now to get this angle right, because you can twist the tube wherever you want until it just matches right about there. You want to keep in mind though that you want a little bit of gap right here so that when you weld it, it penetrates both tubes. So we're gonna, I think that's the angle right there. I'll take this out and finish weld it on the table. That way it's easy for me to go all the way around. And then we'll bring it back here for the final weld in, or the tack anyway. On those plug welds like that, you want a pretty large hole, otherwise you won't melt into that bottom layer of material. So when you start, you want to just start right in the middle and just let it penetrate and burn in, and then it'll finally fill in that gap. Not too bad. Now you can sand that down a little bit if you want. Don't have to, but if you want it to look like one smooth tube, just take this angle grinder with a flap disc and we'll smooth it out. a little coat of paint, you'll never know we messed up. Except you guys will know. Oops. Based on the other side, we're looking for 109 degrees right there. But then I gotta figure out which way, left and right, to go with this thing.
All right, I'm gonna put the truck away and go inside.
Tell them hello.
Tell who hello?
The people on the video.
Oh, hi.
Oh. How I do that? Oh no, this isn't even my welding helmet. Hand me my welding helmet, would you?
Yes.
Dang it.
Where is it?
Did they see that? I don't think they saw that.
Did I see you whip it onto the car? Yeah, I saw it.
Check that out, guys. Now, it doesn't really matter where this hoop is. I can still adjust. Basically what I need to do is put the wheel and tire back on and flex it out and make sure that the tire's not going to hit the shock. It doesn't have to be right under the tube though. You can put your tabs to hold the shock inboard or outboard or straight underneath, wherever you want to go. And we can make our own tabs, but they sell tabs that are kind of curved, straight tabs, long tabs, short tabs, whatever you want. All right, I know I said I was going to build this and then fit the air filter to fit, but I lied. I'm still trying to fit this stupid air filter in here. Now I know I could go with a smaller air filter, but airflow is good. I like airflow, and you can't imagine how much difference whenever I put a bigger air filter on the Scorpion crawler. It was a game changer. Like, I had this little tiny air filter on top of the throttle body, and I put a big one like this, and it was like it was being choked before. So anyway, bigger air filters are good, that's all I'm saying. But I think what I can do is bend a 90-degree tube and then cut it like this, go right over the top of that air filter to the other side, and then even if the air filter doesn't work out right here, at least it's still a very strong support, and I'll be able to put my clamps in there to pull it out, to pull that center section out if I want to pull the motor. Basically, I won't be making a crappy hoop just because of the air filter. It'll still be an awesome hoop, but it'll still fit the air filter, if that makes sense. Now theoretically, I should be able to just bend 190 and then cut it in half and use that for both sides. So I just have a scrap piece of tube in here. I'm running out of tubes, so hopefully I can make this work with what I've got left. I was wrong, because that angle isn't enough to go 90 degrees there. And if I push it down, I can make it go straight across, but then that's not high enough to clear the motor. So I need more of that 90-degree angle here. So I just wasted about 1.5 feet of tube or whatever that was. And I'm running low, so unless I just want to hodgepodge something together, I need to run to town tomorrow and grab some more tubing. So I'm going to end the video right there. But in the next one, we're going to continue with the shock hoops over the top of the motor. And check this out. From the last video, you guys suggested these spark plugs, and they just came in. Check that out. That is ceramic. We'll talk more about that and install those in the next video. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.